This is a car with a silly name. It's about the only car I can think of right now that has an emotion as its name. It's called the Toyota Yaris Cross. Happy cross, happy cross, happy cross, happy cross. It is not, however, quite as confusing as its little brother, which is called the Toyota Aygo Cross. And most people call it the Toyota Aygo X because it has an X in the name, which is very confusing, but it is actually called the Toyota Aygo Cross. And you can watch the video of that one right about here. Anyway, daft names aside, the Yaris Cross is Toyota's take on a super mini sized SUV, which means it's about 4.2 metres long and is a rival for the likes of the Ford Puma, Renault Captur and Skoda Kamiq, among about a million other choices. So, can the Yaris Cross stand out in a busy market? Well, it starts well because it's got a funky nose, squared off wheel arches and plastic body cladding to really help it look the part and look like a proper SUV. In fact, it can even come with proper four-wheel drive. There's only one engine available and it is a small petrol hybrid with a CVT transmission. And as of 2023, the range was slightly expanded, so some models come with 128 horsepower instead of 114. Inside, you get a high-up driving position, which makes it feel more SUV-like than some of its rivals, such as the Skoda Kamiq and Ford Puma. I can't believe I almost forgot the Ford Puma then. How many times we mention it on the Motorpoint YouTube channel. Anyway, if you are regular viewers of our channel, you will know how much we really like physical buttons for the climate control features. It is also quite classy in here and has lovely stitching on the sporty steering wheel, and these seats offer a lot of sport and they are available in the GR Sport model like this one. However, it won't take you long to find some cheaper feeling materials, and it's not as smart inside as a Nissan Juke, nor as stylish as a Peugeot 2008. Even a Ford Puma feels just a bit more premium from the inside. There are some useful design touches though, like the rubberised tray below the infotainment screen, which is perfect for storing your keys, phone, wallet or purse. Talking of the infotainment screen, this was part of a 2023 update to the model, and if you can stretch to it financially, it is worth seeking one of these out because it is much more modern looking and more responsive to your inputs than the outgoing model, although some of the menus are a little bit convoluted. However, you can use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and that is doubly useful because some models don't come with sat-nav, although this particular model does. And while the infotainment screen is a mixed bag, there's loads of equipment to keep you happy. Even entry-level models have air conditioning, keyless entry, automatic emergency braking and adaptive cruise control. The first thing to note is that it's quite a narrow door opening, so getting in can be a little challenging if you're bigger than me. And once in, well, fine for me at 5'4.5". However, I can even feel myself that the seat bases are quite short. So if you're 6 foot, you might find that a little bit uncomfortable. And the front seats are quite large, so it can feel a little bit gloomy back here. However, headroom is not too bad, and you do get 2 sets of Isofix, and this one's got some pockets there. And I've got electric windows in this car, so yeah, okay. Come to the boot, and it's also not particularly impressive. It's only 350 litres, which is less than you'll find in a Peugeot 2008 and a Ford Puma. However, a slight saving grace for the back seats here is that there are actually cup holders, and I didn't comment on those. And the boot is a very usable shape, and the adjustable boot floor means there is virtually no load lip. Fold the rear seats down and there's no awkward hump to heave long objects over either. Anyway, I'm sure that now you would like to know how the car drives. So we're going to shut the boot, you're going to like and subscribe, and now we're going to drive. How much the Yaris Cross impresses on the road very much depends on where you drive it. If you're driving it around town, you'll be suitably impressed because visibility out of the front is excellent. It has a reversing camera to make up for the not so brilliant visibility out the back. The steering is very light, and the 1.5 litre petrol engine has a very welcome power boost from the hybrid system. And in this car, it has the more powerful and updated 128 horsepower engine. What really impresses though is the car's urban fuel economy, because it can run for short periods at low speeds on electric power alone. And because you can gain back a lot of battery power from regenerative braking, in stop-start traffic you could see 60 or 70 miles per gallon. That said, the benefit of the hybrid assistance is much more limited on country roads or motorways, and we've seen much closer to 45 miles per gallon on a mixture of dual carriageways and rural roads, which isn't quite as impressive. And that 3-cylinder petrol engine is a little bit noisy. When it's cold, it sounds a bit gravelly, and when it's warmed up and you're accelerating, it sounds a bit harsh, and that's partly because the CVT transmission is holding the revs up there while you're accelerating. And this thing takes 10.7 seconds to get to 60, 11.2 with the lower powered engine. That said, it still feels fast enough to cope with motorway traffic. The Yaris Cross feels quite firm and fidgety over lumps and bumps, not as far as to say that it's uncomfortable, and the payoff is minimal body lean and fairly good body control through the bends. Although, what I would say is a Ford Puma is more comfortable and handles better, and I bet you didn't know I was going to say that. We say this so often at Motorpoint that we probably sound like a stuck record, and I'm going to say it again. A Ford Puma is by far better to drive, and driving this doesn't change our view on that. Some of its rivals are a little more plush, and it does have slightly compromised rear seat space. However, it's got distinctive looks, it's well equipped, practical enough, and the fuel economy that you get from that hybrid engine means it is a really, really good car to drive around town. So, if you want a sensible SUV, you're not too fussed about rear seat space, and you mainly drive it around town, this could be the SUV for you.